shut up.
I can't hear you.
I know who this is. You're not gonna scare me.
Speak up, Willie boy.
You did that.
I can't hear you! What?
Tonight, we're stepping back into Derry at the exact second everything changed. Not when the black spot burned, not when the pillar melted, not even when Pennywise opened his eyes beneath the earth for the first time in decades. No, the moment that changes the future of Derry happens in a small house, when a child named Will Hanlon looks up and sees the deadlights. This is the moment the show quietly built toward. This is the moment that ripples into it itself. And this is the moment that tells us everything about Pennywise, the pillars, and the danger Shaw unleashed. Tonight we're gonna break down what really happened to Will, what the deadlights actually did, and why Pennywise chose him. Because the truth is, Will Hanlon is far more important than we realized. Before we talk about Will's final moment, we need to understand why he mattered in the first place. Will Hanlon has always been portrayed as gentle, quiet, observant, a kid who sees the world with curiosity instead of fear. Kids like that attract Pennywise, not because they're weak, but because they shine. They feel deeply, and fear tastes best when it grows from something pure. But Will is more than just a child in Derry. He is the start of a lineage, a family line that will one day produce one of the most important characters in the entire It universe. And Pennywise knows it. Monsters like Pennywise don't just hunt, they strategize, they mark people, they groom the future, and Will Hanlon is part of that future. To understand Will's fate, we need to understand the deadlights, not the pop culture version. The real version. The deadlights aren't just beams of orange light. They're not laser vision. They're not magic. They're consciousness. A force that exists outside the physical world. A place where perception gets scrambled, time loses meaning, and minds unravel into something Pennywise can chew on. The deadlights are Pennywise's true form. The clown is just the mask. When someone sees the deadlights, their mind is pulled towards something older than Earth, older than fear itself. Some victims die instantly, some become hollowed out husks, some float in a catatonic daze, alive but not present, and a rare few survive. But they're never the same. This is the power Will came face to face with, and it's no coincidence he saw it on the exact night the black spot burned, the pillar melted, and Pennywise woke decades early. Everything that happens to Will begins long before Pennywise ever enters that house. It starts with the Black Spot Massacre, an eruption of hatred and fear so violent that it primes Derry like a hunting ground. Then comes the military, General Shaw, Operation Precept, the belief that fear can be weaponized, controlled, directed. When Shaw melts the pillar, the ancient anchor that helps keep Pennywise dormant, the ground shakes, the air shifts. Something ancient takes a breath for the first time in years. While the soldiers panic, while the pillar turns from sacred meteor to molten slag, Pennywise wakes up hungry. And when Pennywise wakes, he doesn't go for the loudest, the strongest, or the most terrified. He goes for the most important. Let's slow down. Let's step into the scene. Will Hanlon's a warm house, a normal evening, nothing extraordinary, and then the air changes. The lights don't flicker. The house doesn't shake. Fear doesn't announce itself. Instead, there's a glow, a warm, impossible orange glow that feels like it should be comforting, but isn't. Will looks up and the deadlights stare back. This is not Pennywise playing. This isn't a jump scare. This isn't a warning. This is contact. Will doesn't scream. He doesn't run. He doesn't even breathe. Because the deadlights aren't meant to be seen. They are meant to invade, to rewrite, to dismantle the mind gently, the way a spider wraps a fly, slowly, patiently, confidently. In that moment, Will Hanlon becomes something Pennywise hasn't had in a long time, a project. Now, the real question is Will dead? I don't quite think so, and here's why. The deadlights don't kill unless Pennywise wants them to kill, and Pennywise doesn't kill targets with this much narrative value. What the deadlights do is far more sinister. They mark him. They carve a crack in his consciousness, a small opening Pennywise can reach through, not to control him, but to reshape the way he sees the world. Victims of the deadlights often develop trauma they can't explain, loose time, carry visions, become hyper aware of Pennywise, or feel a pull back to the places where fear lives. Will isn't consumed. He isn't floating. He isn't dead. He's changed. He's a survivor of something that can barely be survived. And Pennywise prefers survivors like that because their fear ripens over decades. Pennywise doesn't waste energy. He doesn't attack at random. Will was chosen for 3 reasons. Number 1, emotional sensitivity. Will feels deeply. Kids like that taste richer. Their fear is complex, layered, beautiful to Pennywise. Number 2, his father. Leroy Hanlon stood up to the military. He challenged Shaw. He tried to stop the destruction of the pillar. That act paints a target on his family. Fear spreads through families like roots. Number 3, future importance. Will's lineage matters. More than he knows. More than we knew at the time. Pennywise isn't just tormenting a child. He's planting a seed of trauma that will echo for generations. Will Hanlon doesn't die. He lives, and living is worse. Because the Deadlights do not leave quietly. They leave residue. They leave memories that don't feel like memories. They leave nightmares that don't belong to the dreamer. Will grow. He will laugh, live, and move on. But inside him, there will be a chamber of orange light that never fully goes dark. Pennywise doesn't need to kill Will. He needs Will to remember him. He needs Will to pass that memory, that fear, into the next generation. And he will, without even knowing it. Trauma is hereditary, and Pennywise understands trauma better than anyone. But the part that nobody is talking about, the part that the episode never shows directly, is what happens after the Deadlights fade. Because Will Hanlon doesn't die. He doesn't disappear. He doesn't slip into the catatonia we saw in Ingrid. He lives. But he lives with something no child should ever carry. You have to understand something about survivors of the Deadlights. They don't return to normal life the way everyone hopes they will. Not really. Not ever. Here's the question the show wants you to ask. Did Pennywise choose Will? Or did the Deadlights find him on their own? Because the Deadlights aren't just tools. They are alive. They have intention. They reach for minds that are open, unguarded, curious. And Will is all of those things. Some fans believe the Deadlights weren't hunting Will. They were calling to him. Because something in him, some spark, responded. Maybe Pennywise was never after Will's body. Maybe he was after his spirit. A new thread in Derry, one that will matter far more as the story moves closer to the Losers Club era. So what really happened to Will Hanlon? He didn't die. He didn't vanish. He didn't become a hollow-eyed puppet. He became something far more important. A survivor. A marked child. A witness to the true form of Pennywise. A link between the destruction of the pillar, the mass trauma of Derry, and the battles that will be fought long after this season ends. Will Hanlon is not gone. He's beginning. And Pennywise never forgets the ones who see the Deadlights. Not ever.